Tayo always wore makeup. Always. It didn't matter where she was or what she was doing. Her face was never bare. When the delivery man knocked early in the morning, she would quickly touch up her powder before opening the door, smiling as if she had just woken up flawless. At the gym, while others sweated freely, Tayo moved carefully, dabbing her forehead gently to avoid smudging her foundation. Even at the market, under the hot Lagos sun, she carried a compact mirror in her bag, reapplying her makeup in between bargaining with traders. At pool parties, while her friends dived into the cool water, laughing and splashing around, she sat by the edge with her feet dipped in, never letting a single drop of water touch her face. Everywhere she went, people saw perfection, smooth skin, sharp brows, lips painted just right, but no one ever saw her without it. And of course, people talked. "That girl never leaves the house without makeup," the fruit seller at the market whispered, shaking her head, "even when she's buying just tomatoes." "I saw her at the gym," another woman said, laughing. "She was sweating, but her face, still perfect." "You know she doesn't swim, right?" a neighbor whispered. "At the last pool party, she just sat there like a queen with a full face of makeup." The gossip never stopped. "Maybe she has bad skin," some said. "Maybe she's hiding something," others guessed. "I think she's just too vain," a woman once sneered. Tayo heard the whispers, felt their stares, but she never explained. She simply smiled, adjusted her makeup, and carried on. Makeup wasn't just something she wore, it was a part of her, a shield, a habit so deep that even when she was home alone, she still couldn't bear to see her bare face in the mirror. But then, Chuka came into her life. Keep watching this video to find out how Tayo's secret was exposed. Chuka was the managing director of the firm where Tayo worked, and she was one of the best employees in the company. Smart, hard-working, and dedicated. He admired her work ethics, but it wasn't long before admiration turned into likeness. He started paying attention to the little things, like the way she always avoided direct sunlight, how she never touched her face absent-mindedly, and how she always reapplied her makeup every hour to make sure it's intact. Chuka liked Tayo, and he wanted to know her beyond the flawless exterior she presented. He asked her out on dates, and she always looked perfect, impeccably dressed, makeup done to perfection, not a hair out of place. At dinner dates, he watched how she would dab at her lips with a napkin so carefully, ensuring not to wipe too much. When they took walks, she'd keep a small mirror in her bag, checking her reflection every few minutes. One evening, after a particularly beautiful date, he gently asked, "Tayo, why do you always wear makeup?" She smiled and shrugged. "I just like looking good." "But even at the gym?" he asked further. "I sweat a lot," she laughed nervously. "Nobody wants to see a messy face." Chuka didn't push, but he saw the way her hands tightened around her purse, the way she felt uneasy whenever someone looked at her too long. He knew there was more to it. On another date, he teased, "What would happen if I ever saw you without makeup?" Tayo laughed shakily. "You won't," she said lightly. "It's part of me." But Chuka wasn't satisfied with half-truths. He wanted the real Tayo. One evening, they sat on her balcony under the soft glow of the city lights. The conversation had drifted from work to childhood memories when Chuka softly said, "Tayo, what are you hiding?" Tayo stiffened. The usual excuses rose to her lips, but for some reason, they felt empty. She swallowed hard and looked away. After a long silence, she whispered, "I have a birthmark. A huge one. On my face." She didn't dare look up at him. "People used to laugh at me when I was younger," she continued in a trembling voice. "They called me names and asked if something burned me. Some said it was a curse." She took a shaky breath. "I learned to cover it up. And over time, the makeup, it became my shield." Chuka reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "Tayo," he said softly, "can I see it?" Her heart pounded in her chest. Slowly, she reached into her purse, pulled out a wipe, and with trembling hands wiped away the layers of foundation she had worn for years. The dark birthmark stretched across her cheek, a mark she had hidden for so long. She braced herself for disgust, for pity, but when she finally looked up, Chuka's gaze was steady and warm. "You're beautiful," he said, his voice filled with sincerity. Tayo's eyes filled with tears. "You don't have to say that." "I mean it," he said, brushing a thumb gently over her hand. She swallowed, trying to push down the lump in her throat. "People stare, Chuka. They whisper, they laugh." "Let them," he said with a soft smile. "Let's take a walk. Just you. No makeup." "Now," Tayo whispered. "Now," he said, standing up and holding out his hand. Every step she took outside felt like walking into the unknown. Her heart pounded as she waited for the stares, the whispers, the laughter, but they never came. The fruit seller still greeted her warmly. The security man waved at her like always. The children playing outside barely gave her a glance. No one said a bad word. By the time they returned, Tayo's hands were no longer shaking. She looked at Chuka and let out a small laugh, wiping away a tear. "I feel free." Chuka smiled. "Because you are." From that day, Tayo didn't stop wearing makeup, but she no longer needed it. Some days, she wore it because she wanted to, and on others, she stepped out proudly without it, her birthmark showing, her head held high. And each time she caught her reflection in the mirror, she no longer saw a flaw. She saw strength, she saw courage, she saw herself. Learn to love yourself, especially regardless of the things you can't control.